The issue of hidden prejudice is explored in the new book, Reality Check, and author David Weiner joins us live here in the studio. And David, the number is pretty surprising of the number of people who think they aren't prejudiced, but they are.
Yeah, about 85% of people remain prejudiced against white people against blacks, and they claim everybody has some kind of implicit bias. And it turns out it's all a mistake. I mean, neuroscience has found that the genetics of it, they found this DNA molecule in every cell in our body. It's got 300,000 pages of code. I have a page in the book. It's just 4 letters. And there's no difference between us or a chimpanzee or a geranium or a potato. I like to think of myself as a potato. It's more comforting.
Yeah, it's not that bad, actually, when you get used to it.
Yeah, so we're all the same, basically.
There's this poll recently, USA Today, that said that most see racial progress, but blacks are still very skeptical in all of this. And there's this show that we've been talking about, Black-White. Let's show a clip of this, because it gives you a little sense of how people think things differently, especially when you suddenly wear someone else's skin. The premise there, they had a makeup job, this white couple, we're going to show you now, who are now made to look like they're black, went to a country western dance, and then here's what they had to say when coming back from that country western dance. Let's take a listen.
I had just a nuance of a sense of how that would be as a human being to actually feel there are places consistently that I'm not welcome just due to my flesh, my body, my beingness is not welcome. It's regarded with hate.
What do you think of that?
It's ridiculous. There are 11,000 cultures in the world, and every culture thinks they're better than everybody else. So you may not be welcome in some other culture. You might walk into a homosexual bar and feel just as strange.
But it's a subtle thing, isn't it, in a lot of respects, in this day and age? Because you write about how prejudice can be subtle among people who want to be socially acceptable. So someone may not even realize they're being that way, but for the social situations, it comes out.
This is the thing. It's not politically correct to be prejudiced today. But you still feel it. These biological mechanisms in our minds still create it. I mean, the throwbacks to when we were in caves, and we still have it. The idea is to try to manage it. I feel it. Let's try to manage it and not just attack some target because of it.
Well, we're talking black, white, but what about other colors? I mean, it's a broad spectrum, and also we have more mixed race people in society now than ever.
Well, this propensity for one culture to look down on another is part of this social dominance program. So we'll look down on homosexuals, we'll look down on poor people. We'll find somebody to look down on because it gives us a high for the day. At least some of us, not all of us.
You talk about some of the physical indications of prejudice and how people interact. You want to talk a little bit about that? Well,
it's a little mechanism in the brain called the amygdala. It creates fear. And so you see some stranger coming down the street, and it's automatic. It worked great when we're living in the caves, because there's a tribe over the hill looks strange, you better get ready for them. But today we got email. I mean, we're interconnected in the world, and we still have all these throwbacks that we have to learn to rise above.
So there's less smiling, less eye contact. I mean, there's a body language that immediately
subtle
comes out.
Now, does it wear away, though, with exposure?
It wears away if the exposure stays consistent. There's one study that showed where they took Israelis and Palestinian kids and put them together, and they got along great. But they went back to the homes, they resumed the prejudice against each other.
The movie Crash, which won the Academy Award, the whole concept in this whole movie is about racism. Why does it exist? What is the problem? How do we fix it?
The 3 brain mechanisms that do it. This little one I told you about, the amygdala, the status mechanism we have in our mind. And
I don't understand that. There's a status mechanism in our mind.
Absolutely.
And it goes back to the cave?
We have this penchant for social dominance. There's a scale, 1 to 10. And the author of that put, for example, he put 150 rhesus monkeys in a room, and within 27 minutes they were all organized in tribes. Then he put 150 humans in the same room, and it only took them 7 minutes longer. In other words, we have this penchant, and we have to recognize it, and the higher we are on it, the more we tend to look down on somebody, and it's a terrible thing, because the people that are looked down on get stigmatized and stressful, and it affects their health. It's a terrible thing that's happening, and it's a mistake.
Well, hopefully the awareness helps.
That's the first step in all of it. Thank you, David. Reality Check, What Your Mind Knows But Isn't Telling You is the name of the book. You can find it at a bookstore near you. Thanks again.